So, I recently shared 23 signs of toxic parents, and I hope you didn't miss those because today we are going to look at how to deal with them. If you realize that the interactions with your parents continually leave you feeling drained or overwhelmed, then you may be dealing with toxic parents. And you might first need to identify the toxic traits because some toxic traits like emotional abuse can be very subtle. They're very hard to recognize. So it will be very helpful to first acknowledge how interacting with them makes you feel. Now, your parents may have toxic traits if interactions with them leave you feeling number one, confused and unsure of yourself. They make you feel bad about yourself in some way. They continually make you feel judged. They make you feel guilty for saying no. They leave you feeling drained, angry, or overwhelmed. And they leave you feeling like you're not feeling respected or you're being manipulated. And they also make you feel like you need to change your behavior, like you're constantly walking on eggshells around them. It never stops, it never ends, etc. Now, if you notice that your parents constantly make you feel this way, you may want to try some of these strategies. Number one, set and enforce boundaries. Boundaries help us set clear expectations and limits for how other people treat us. They can help create emotional and physical space between you and your parents, okay? This may not have been something you had as a child, so it may feel uncomfortable to set boundaries with your parent and then start telling your parents how they should treat you is so foreign to certain people. They always feel like, but they're my parents. They're older. How do I start telling them? But listen, setting boundaries with people who have toxic behaviors can be difficult, I acknowledge, and they may not even respect the limits. But do not let that deter you. Boundaries are essential to building and maintaining healthy relationships. Remember that it's okay to limit contact with your parents. Remember, it's okay to tell them no. Remember, it's okay to come late. It's okay to leave early. Okay? For example, setting a boundary with a father who puts you in the middle of their disputes can sound like, Dad, listen, I am sorry you're having issues with mom, but I am a child to you and mom. I love and respect both of you. It is not fair for you to put me in the middle of these disagreements, okay? You need to speak to an elder third party who can better help you with this situation. Right now, I feel pressure to choose between the two of you, which is wrong for you to make me do something like that. And enforcing it means that you remain consistent with it. Because many of us say, but I set a boundary, but it's not working. You set a boundary just like I have, but you don't enforce it. Enforcing means you consistently do it and the other person gets the message. So, good luck. I have a few reflection questions for you. What boundaries do you need to set moving forward with your parents? And number two, what's one step you can take towards setting those boundaries? Strategy number two, do not try to change them. Mrs. Fixer, Mr. Fixer, let me tell you something. Trying to change people who don't want to change can leave you feeling frustrated, drained, and overwhelmed. Instead, try to focus on what you can control, such as how you respond to your parents' actions and your behavior. Those are the only things you have control over. Reflection questions for you. Number one, how do you try to change or fix your parents? Because many of you still want to go and talk to them. Mom, I think you should do this. I don't think you should be talking to people like that. I don't think you should be doing ABCD. It's not going to work. Number two, how do you feel when you can't change them? And the other question, with regard to your relationship with your parents, what's in your control? What is it that you can work on and what is it that you can't work on? Okay, let's go to strategy number three. Stop trying to please them. Now, look, I know it is natural to want your parents' approval, okay? But it can seem impossible to please parents with toxic behaviors. Nothing is never enough for them. There is only so much you can do. And for some of us, the more we seek approval, the more we are left in pain. Living your life according to someone else's values and goals can leave you feeling unhappy and unfulfilled. So stop trying, okay? You may find yourself frequently seeking validation from your parents and other people, relying on them to determine and validate your self worth. You accomplish something, you want to call them. As something good happens in your life, you want to call them so that you please them. You want to hear what they have to say. You want to hear them say, oh, I'm proud of you. But a toxic parent might never say those things to you. So, a few reflection questions for you. Number one, what do you do to please your parents? Even though it doesn't work out well for you. Number two, what do you need to do for yourself? Even if your parents disapprove, as long as you're not hurting anybody. Strategy number four, learn not to engage. Now, this usually never ends well. If you can avoid the back and forth, please do it. And then make sure you always have an exit strategy. If you've ever dealt with a toxic parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When things start to turn sour, take that as your cue to leave or hang up the call. That's if you're speaking on phone. At that point, you know that staying may only escalate the situation and make it worse. It may be safer for you to end your time together at the first sign of trouble. You don't have to stick around just to be polite or to make your parents happy. No, I'm sure if you've ever done that, then you know how that ends. How does it leave you feeling? A few reflective questions for you. How can you get out of a difficult situation with your parents? If one occurs, do you and your partner or sibling have a signal to let each other know that it's time to leave? If not, would one be helpful? Because if you do need one, please save yourself. Protect yourself. Strategy number five, do not try to reason with them. Okay, it can be hard to reason with someone who exhibits toxic behavior. It's like you're speaking through one ear and it's through another ear. Try to be assertive, not aggressive or disrespectful. Those two things are very different. Try to be assertive about issues that matter to you, but acknowledge that your parents may not understand your point of view, and that is okay. So try not to get dragged into arguments that degrade into bouts of name calling and other disrespectful behaviors. You don't want to do that with your parent. Remember that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. No, you can choose to disengage instead, okay? Not every battle has to be fought. Strategy number six, you need to train yourself to avoid taking responsibility for their feelings or needs. And you need to learn to stop taking everything they say to you personally. Now, look, I know if you were raised to respect your elders and obey your parents and please them at all costs, setting boundaries can seem foreign. And also trying to not take responsibility for their feelings can seem like something that's very, very hard to do. But you need to remember that your parents' inability to love, accept, and value you or even respect you aren't your fault. So the only strategy here is for you to learn to detach with compassion. Good luck. Strategy number seven, you need to practice self care. Okay, children of toxic parents might not be used to taking care of themselves. Okay, many are people pleasers, many ignore red flags because they are so used to them. Okay, they saw all of that growing up, so it has, it feels like home right now, etc. And my advice to you is please normalize taking care of yourself. Okay, you need to use mantras such as self care is not selfish. I know many of the children out there who have experienced childhood trauma feel like, if I say no, I'm going to be a bad person. If I take care of myself and not my parent first, it's going to make me look like I'm a selfish person. But no, you need to remind yourself that your needs matter. Okay, you need to remind yourself that, hey, I'm an adult and I have a right to make my own choices, because you actually do. Okay, now lastly, strategy number 8, you need to be very mindful of what you share with them. Okay, they don't have to know all the nitty gritties. If your parents are the type that gossip about you, criticize you, and share things about you without your permission, they will use what you tell them against you. So you're not obligated to tell them everything or anything that's going on in your life or answer their questions. You need to learn to consider sharing only what feels comfortable and safe. Reflective questions: what feels safe to share with your parents and what doesn't feel safe to share? Good luck. Assalamu alaikum. Turn on your notification button so that you don't miss the upcoming videos.